all the kids and grandkids and great-grandkids were with them when he passed. And then, of course, because at least,
He brought it to them.
yeah.
He said, she's like this, it's sort of, adjusted. Because they were all like Nancy's in the house, and they called him Mr. So was that for him.
They're always like, yeah,
So nice, and the family was there,
Yeah.
At that time, I think he was the one.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we went for, and he found the names that were at, so I was like, he went, like, see that, it's great, and she recognized him.
Yeah, so he asked us to sign, I think there were about 12, they called them survivors, but they were actually born in camp. So I think I was probably the youngest of the others, because they started when they were 42. But it was, so he asked us to sign, okay, sign your name, and then born in the Doka. So it was just to acknowledge it. Yes, he wasn't born in camp. Right, he was born in.
Right.
And then the weekend before that, I flew into Colorado because Lisa, Nate's wife, her family was together. Her brother was in Fort Collins, and he had just gotten married a lady from France. So I don't know if I met her. So I flew in on a Sunday, flew home on a Tuesday. Wednesday I flew up to Seattle. Yeah.
We covered it, so this way, so the sections that
Got to do
was good at it, it's good, it's like,
I think this might be it today. I'm not doing it today.
I know, it was a handful.
So I'll let you crack. Not that you need to crack.
No, I do, thanks.
That's it.
Yeah, I do, but I don't go like on seniors. Okay. Yeah. That's okay.
Change the page number. Yeah.
Well, it's been a long time now, so this week, it just is. Yeah. So today, yeah. Oh, wow. So, these are so, anyway, yeah, I really think, of course, I didn't mind. So, well, really exciting how the special words, so actually,
Oh, that's good.
yeah, and then she started to I'm sure I can't just yeah, because it hasn't gotten to my life.
You're right, the chairperson.
I saw the woman. Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our family service today. So nice to have a little bit of quiet. Even on the video, you write a little explanation of each service and just recognizing it's a welcome relief. We've been so busy for the last few weeks getting ready for our Obon festival last weekend and then the Obon service. And so many other things going on with the families and the members here. So it's been a couple of days of relative quiet, and so I think it's appreciated. Some of our members have stayed home to rest a little bit more. That's okay with me. So for today, we'll have Sucha chanting with the Sambujo on page 2425, and this will be followed by the Jusei Ge. So, we could begin with that, and then I'll come back to explain what else we'll have for this service today. So Sambujo, Jusei Ge. The true Seigi is on page 93 in our book. Namanda, 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 namanda. Sai Shomingu 教未証門政府上昇が利欲人少年上映主本領四愚無常道一生天人知人力現代語無償無才道少女三苦名交際修薬難会議知恵滅死根本案永息小白道通達全宗門高僧上満足医療老実法一月集中期健康無限一周解放像公正力法上大集中説法四四苦不要一切物具足修徳本何出上満徳理三大用用物無下地通達未不詳願楽営利投資最小損志願役効果大聖の感動国書天人大珍妙慶Next, we'll have our Gatha in the White Book, Arigato, on page 36. First one in Japanese and in English. Then remain standing for the Jodo Shinshu Creed on page 12. Koshin-chu Creed on page 12. Number 1. Entrusting the vow of the Buddha and reciting the sacred name, I shall proceed through the journey of life with strength and joy, revering the light of the Buddha, reflecting upon my imperfect self. I shall strive to live a life of gratitude, following the teachings of the Buddha, discerning the right path. I shall spread the true Dharma, rejoicing in the compassion of the Buddha, respecting and aiding one another. I shall do my best to work towards the welfare of society. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda, 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 Namanda. Please be seated. Next we'll have our Dharma message. And still very reflective of the Obon happenings. Just last weekend, on Saturday, we had our Obon festival, with very colorful. All the lanterns were hung, and people changing to their yukata and kimono, Japanese custom clothing, and dancing in the large circle. And we had so many people here, and people were just happy to see each other and to be here again. And Sunday, we had our Hatsubon service, our Obon service, and very special service for people, in particular the Hatsubon families who have lost someone dear in their families from the period of last year's Obon to this year's Obon. So these people in particular are invited to the service, and we have a special service particularly to honor the people that they have lost. And so it's very touching. People, the families invite members of their own family, and many come from out of the area. And so it's nice to see them sitting together, not just one or two, but sometimes 5 and even 10 people coming to represent their families. So very touching to see. And while that was going on, Sharmon and I had a special service, a family service. So members from my family and from her family came, and we wanted to kind of reinforce what Obon was about to them. Many of them are not so familiar, not regular temple members where they live, and so we thought by inviting them and reflecting upon people they have particularly lost in their lives, in their families, we would be able to share with them what Obon is about. Not just the festival and dancing and music and nice foods, but the meaning behind it, which comes all the more on the Sunday service when you've come. And so because of that, I have invited a special guest speaker for today. So we are the lucky ones that are being able to hear, and her name is Sharmon. So Sharmon is invited to come up to share her thoughts on having this special family service in the midst of all the happenings last weekend. Please come up and you could just speak here if that's too far away for you. We have limitations today. Yes. Please give Sharmon your attention.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, everyone.
So, last week, as he said, we had the Obon and the Hatsubon, and I thank everybody of this temple. I give thanks for everybody back to our first generation that were here on Alameda Island, that went through all that they did to create a place for Jodo-Shinshu Buddhism. And though I'm an outsider, I feel so grateful that they created this temple for all of us to bring us to more awareness of how much we receive. And for that first generation, I have not forgotten them during our family service. So our family service was, first of all, my maternal grandmother died on Hatsubon Sunday. Dennis's father died on a Hatsubon morning as he prepared for his Hatsubon congregation. My brother died on Hatsubon morning during the service for my mom and dad's first year Hatsubon. So with 3 of these family members, I felt that it was very important for us to recognize the loss of these people. But more than that, because we're coming out of the pandemic, I had a cousin that I haven't seen forever, and she lost her brother, which is my cousin. And she's on my father's side, and on my mother's side, my cousin died and her daughter was named after my mother. And so she's here in the Bay Area, so I invited her and her boyfriend. So Cheryl and her husband, Mitsuko, and her boyfriend. And since they, of course, did the service, but Mrs. Fujimoto. And our group, Hatsubon family, was my girlfriend that I grew up with from when I was very little, and her husband died this year. I was their maid of honor. So she and her daughter and her grandchildren came, and it's been really tough for her because she doesn't remember life very much without Doug, because she got married when they were in college, raised family, and the kids were off on their own, and then he got cancer and he passed. So it's been a really tough year, and she's moved down to Walnut Creek, and so it's really nice she's closer, but at the same time, I know, and all of us know, that first year, that second year, that third year, but especially that first year, every day, every inhale of my breath felt like, oh, how do I go on? How do I go on, right? So through the temple, we always do these Hatsubon services in honoring so that they know that they have the support of everyone. But I feel like in our families and our friends, we could do the same also. And so Mrs. Fujimoto, Mom Fujimoto, Kai, his son, his wife had lost her mother, and Joseph and his girlfriend, so grandson and his girlfriend. We all came together and had this special family service. Also recognized was my grandfather, who helped, was taken as a prisoner of war, but helped, gather people together and funds together so that they could start to build the Idaho-Oregon Temple. He also helped do that up in Waikato. And because of that, he was taken away right away when the war broke out. So my grandfather, my grandmother, and my brother, and my aunties were supposed to come, and they're in their late 80s, early 90s, but the report was it was going to be really hot. We were so fortunate. Although it was warm during the daytime, it cooled off beautifully, beautifully. So we were so lucky here at Alameda. And so also included was their husbands that have passed recently in the last year and several years. So in this service, although it was just a short service, Sensei explained that, the purpose of the service, it's a memorial service, but especially for the first year. That first year is a tough one. And yet, though, I think it's been, my grandmother, maternal grandmother's been gone the longest, and I never knew her. For all of us, including Kai, lost a friend. So we had all sorts of friends and family, and he made lanterns for all of them, for us to have some kind of symbolic piece of having a service. And this is something all of you can think about doing if your families and you have friends who have lost somebody during the pandemic, what a wonderful way to be able to acknowledge them, because there was so many people that passed that we had no way to gather together and stuff. So for us, and just sharing with you a little of what people, my people, I guess I'll call them my people, shared, is that they thought Obon was so beautiful, and that was wonderful. But the service, all the way through to the Obon dancing, to the hot dogs afterwards, just made it such a special thing. I had some families left before, and it was demanded, where were the hot dogs at? What happened, and why how come there's a picture here of hot dogs? And it's like, oh, after all the dancing was over, hot dogs were served. And my cousin's boyfriend thought that the hot dogs, he would be an imposter if he asked for a hot dog because he didn't dance. I told him I had connections and that I could get him a hot dog and not to worry. And he was very reluctant, he and his wife, very reluctant, and they had been long time San Jose members when their daughter was little, went all the way through to get her silver badge as a Girl Scout. Anyway, he was just so resistant to come have a hot dog. And I said, really, you're not going to get trouble with us? But we didn't dance. I said, oh no, you get a hot dog because you came. And so out of the darkness comes Sensei with 2 hot dogs. I go, there you go, see, I have connections. So anyway, they were able to enjoy a hot dog. So for all of those who prepared the hot dogs, Jackie, thank you so much, and everybody else that helped create the atmosphere so that people could think of their loved ones, gather joyfully together, because after the pandemic, this is our largest gathering, and yet at the same time, be able to balance both of those things. So for our family, we are able to start with the service of those we've lost, whether this year or many years ago, support each other, and go on to see the wonderful dancing. So Charlene's granddaughter just fell in love with Morgan. And Morgan looked like a little duck, mother duck out there with that little bunch of children just following her. She was so good with all of them. So Charlene's granddaughter danced with her. And I think that will start a tradition for them to understand Obon better. So my girlfriend, who couldn't believe we had one food truck here, and I told her after service, I will feed you all. I'll get a bento. And she goes, we were texting back and forth, and she writes, she calls me and she goes, a food truck? You have a food? I said, we're not cooking. Last year we danced and we had hot dogs and everybody got to dance and enjoy. And she goes, but a food truck? You said a little food truck. And I said, a very little food truck. She goes, they're not making lots of food and stuff? And I said, no, they're not. They're going to have hot dogs after. And she goes, oh. I said, this is a very small temple. This is a very small temple. It's very intimate, and you'll see. And she goes, oh, I'm used to LA. You know, there's 4 ones that go on at the same time. I said, I know. And people run from one to the other, and they dance. They eat lots of food. And she goes, if there's a food truck, there's a whole bunch of them because nobody would get to eat if there's one food truck. I said, you come, you see. Don't worry. I'm going to feed you. You're going to get a bento. So she came, and she couldn't believe that there was this cute little food truck, just the way I explained to her. There was a little food truck. Technically, it's not a food truck. A truck would drive, right? This is pushed into the corner there. So what she wrote back to me was, I always thought Obon was food, friends, eating, and just dancing. What I didn't know was the true meaning of Obon. And so to have the service first, where you recognized and had names of my mother, my father, and my sister, was so touching to me. And then, of course, when I got up to a shoko for my maternal grandmother, I'm like, Mexico, come on, this is us. And she's like, oh yeah. So it was very, very nice to have that familial connection. But for all of them to understand that that service is the remembering. And I think it's just that combination of how we take the next steps, that the dancing, we call it the dance of joy, we dance joyfully, but the dancing is our movement. Each day we get up and open our eyes after we've lost somebody. Sometimes it's that moment to moment, just taking that deep breath in and releasing. It's those babies that we've lost before. It's those grandparents we've lost. It's those people that came before us that we lost. So remembering all of them, not just ours, but everybody is in this together. And so in our small service, we represented knowing each other in different kinds of ways and being able to support each other as we sat down to eat. And yet, then seeing all these lanterns that were other people's, because now they all had somebody of one of the lanterns, and to recognize all the people that have been honored. And yet for each one of those, there's hundreds more that have gone on before us. So everybody just Gassho right now. I'd like to give thanks for many things. I'd like to give thanks for the air we breathe, for the sun, the moon, the sky, the water, the gravity that keeps us in our chairs or standing on this earth. I'd like to give thanks for the mountains, the hills, and the earth that grows the food we eat. I'd like to give thanks to the Standing Tree Nation, to those that fly through the air, to those that walk on this earth, the two-legged and the four-legged, to those that creep and crawl on the ground, to those who live under the ground, the ones who swim through the water. I'd like to give thanks to those elders of the elders of the elders that have come for generations. I'd like to give thanks for those who will come in the future. I'd like to give thanks to the four ridges of life, our elders, our adults, our young people, and our babies. And for those who have all passed before us, I give thanks. And for this moment in time, all of us shared together with the past behind us, the future in front of us. We are all perfect as we are just now. And we all come just as we are. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namaste. Thank you to everybody in this temple. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Sharmon. Yeah, nice reflections of that particular service and the people that were able to come. I can add one story to that. You know, we had, like Sharmon described, we made lanterns for the people we were honoring in this group. And so there were 14 names that I was provided and made lanterns, and they were all lined up here and for the Saturday evening service. And Jane had asked Hiko to serve as chairperson for Sunday service, because he always does a nice job as chairperson. And he was here early on Saturday and looking around, so he notices the lanterns, you know, and so he counts 14. So he says, how many names do we have for Hatsumon? There's 12. 12 families are coming. So I count 14 here. Not only there's a wrong number of lanterns, he doesn't recognize any of the names, right? So he's kind of wondering what's going on. So, no, he goes, this is a different service. Okay, this is for Saturday. Sunday we'll have different lanterns entirely for our Sangha members we've lost. So, okay. Yeah. But it was special. You know, I was wondering how it would end up, because we had invited people and they don't necessarily know each other, right? Different groups had lost different people at different times, and the central person is Sharmon, but from there, you know, they don't necessarily even know each other's names. And so Mitzi brings her boyfriend, and so I was wondering how would it go, how would they, with so many different backgrounds, you don't know where they are in their understanding of Buddhist practice or appreciation of the Buddhist teachings and things like this, so not so sure how it will go. but as they came to know, it was a memorial service. Mitzi's boyfriend asked, well, can we include my mother who passed away a year ago, and my father, a few years ago. Too late to make a lantern, but we read his name, and Cheryl's husband included a dear friend that he lost just this past year, and because of the pandemic, they didn't really have a time to acknowledge his passing. So people were into it, and appreciating, and just to hear their connections read during the service, to come up and offer incense during that, and to not only to recognize, but with the chanting and the offering of incense, you are physically involved to go through this recognition of people we've lost, this grieving process that you acknowledge in your own life, and all of these things happen. And so for us, even Obon, the dancing is part of the same thing, where we are acknowledging not just a happy dance, but we are doing this in unison together as a sangha, and doing these dances in appreciation, recognition of these people we've lost in our families, and it touches us all the more. When you do the Obon no Uta, the beginning and the end of the festivities, you could see in people's faces how they are touched, how it has meaning for them beyond just dancing and being colorful or decorative. Yeah, so that all the more makes it very, very touching. So I'm happy that you're here to hear the reflections from Sharmon, and that we were able to share that part of our personal lives with all of you that are here today. So please join me in Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Okay, so next we have our final Gatha, again in the White Book on page 150. We are one. Please stand. Please be seated. I'd like to thank everyone who helped out to prepare for service, preparing the altar. We have flowers that are provided here for the altar and fruits. And we have video people that are involved in sending this out to others who are home. Lenny for accompanying the music. Special thank you to Sharmon for sharing her words today. And what else do we have? Thank you all for coming. It's nice to be able to sit, chant together, and to listen to the words together. So, announcements. Sharmon has an announcement.
She said, ask Reverend Dennis a question.
Ask Reverend Dennis a question. You have to wait till September. No.
This is a question.
Okay.
When are we going to start birthday Sunday? Because we have memorial services and stuff, so I think we should celebrate birthdays too, right?
We could, yeah. I had asked the Sangha, and people just smile and stare at me rather than say, good idea, Sensei. So I'm kind of on hold. I think it's a good idea to have birthday Sunday on the final Sunday of each month, final Sunday service
No,
of
you
each
can't
month.
do the final Sunday.
Well,
The final Sunday, we're all here.
right, the final service
Yeah.
of each month. That'd be we could just force it on people. That'd be a good idea to get it started, right?
I think we should start this Sunday.
We could start today
Yes.
because it's my birthday.
Did you bring your pennies?
I have one.
Okay. We'll take it.
Come on, dog. Come on, dog. Initiating the first birthday Sunday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Sensei. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you. Anyone else in July? No, July?
Got it.
I know, I don't have enough pennies.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we used to do that at another temple, and so many of the seniors would come and they'd be ready, huh? They'd have a little plastic sandwich bag all full of pennies, not quarters, pennies. So it would take a long time as they dropped them in one by one, and and people were giggling and take forever, and the lines waiting for their turn, and it's kind of fun. And so let's remind each other to do that. Yes.
What do the pennies represent? I mean, you're supposed to bring as many pennies as you're old?
Yes.
Basically, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't. Okay.
We might not be able to find that many pennies, right?
Okay, and another announcement, next Sunday, there's no service. On the 5th Sunday of each month, we do not hold service, okay? And August 6th, it's our Shotsuki service, our monthly memorial, and it's also our atomic bomb memorial. And along with a brief message, we're going to have a video. And Reverend Abiko, a dear friend of many of us here at the temple, he just passed away this past year. This is his Hatsubon year, but he had created a video returning as a child back to the Hiroshima area. And so there's images of Hiroshima and what he went through as he returned to that area, and helping with some of the cleanup and things like that. And I don't recall how young he was, but just to hear his voice again is very touching, and to connect that with the scenes that many of us are familiar with, but to connect those scenes with our dear friend Reverend Abiko and what he and his family went through in particular over there. It's a very touching short video. It's about 8 or 9 minutes. And so we're going to have that as part of this service. So you're welcome to come. I think you'll really enjoy and appreciate that. So also we have visitors. Are you Lillian? What is your name? Can you?
Silas.
Yeah, stand up and introduce yourself.
Hi, Silas. I live in Washington.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, welcome to the temple. You're always welcome here. Yeah, I wasn't sure. I had a call a couple weeks ago. Someone named Lillian, and I'm going to try to come on the 23rd of Sunday of July, and so come to visit your service. So I wasn't sure if Lillian had come or not. So, but even better than Lillian, someone who's actually here. Okay, very good. So we can come up and offer incense and conclude the service, and we can go down and have some tea together in the social hall. Thank you.